Take it. If you won't give it to me, I'ma take it. Take it. If you won't give it to me, I'ma take it.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Drift Games vlog. So this is the day before the LZ Festival, but this video is obviously going out after the LZ Festival, just to give you guys a bit more content and spread the content out there a little bit more. So I'm here with Darren McNamara. Did I say it right?
Hello again.
Hello again. So Darren, you've brought quite the fleet of cars. We're down at yours the other day and you didn't quite have them finished, but you've put in some all-nighters and long hours, and here they are. So we're working our way through them, trying to go into... I told Darren to dummy it down a little bit so that most of you guys will understand it, and myself, but he may get carried away and get a little bit complicated, so we'll see how it goes. So we'll start off with your... take it easy on me. We'll start off with your first... Sorry, the oldest car, which is the... What have you called this one? The The 240. The DMAC 240.
Because it was a 240 S6, left-hand drive.
So let's give us a rundown of this for anybody that may not know anything about this car.
Yeah, it's got a 700 horsepower, 6.8 litre World of Outlaw sprint car engine. So it's a really special V8. You know, revs like a bike, you can hear it. If anyone's heard it before. It's not like...
We're putting a clip here to describe. And as far as V8s go, it's the quickest revving V8 I think I've ever heard, which creates a sound that's just beyond any other V8 that I've ever heard.
Most V8s, especially like road cars and stuff, you'll be used to them kind of lazy, you know. You know it's a big displacement engine, but this is just on another level. It's like a motorbike. And then it makes lots of torque. So like 700 horsepower, about 650 foot-pounds, but it makes it from so low down in the rev range, so basically for your experience it would have no lag whatsoever, just instant horsepower.
Which I drove Dave's car, which is a LS3, and I was a little bit surprised because that's got a bigger cam in, so it did have, even though it was a V8 and you get told that V8s have no lag, it did have a little bit of lag on there.
I mean, the power band is still going to be where it is in the sweet spot, but I mean, when you're talking about 3000 RPM or whatever, your SR wouldn't even be on boost.
The SR would be barely moving at 3000.
Yeah, so when you have a turbo car like that, you have a huge difference between on boost and off boost, so it's basically useless off boost because the whole car is set up for the power it has on boost, whereas the V8 makes so much more. You can kind of come off the throttle so much more and just roll back into it. It's nice to have no lag. It's really nice.
So it's a cheating engine pretty much. You don't have to drive around any lag.
Cheating is fun. I mean, it's fun a lot of the time.
And you have a mad, what can only be described as some sort of spider exhaust. Octopus. Is it the octopus?
Yeah. It's a what we call a 180-degree cross. I'm not going to get too intelligent for you.
No, I was going to say this.
I know you can't handle that.
No, I kind of understand some things about manifolds. So I understand there's log manifolds and there's equal length tubular manifolds. But obviously with a V8, you've explain why you've done it this way.
Well, you'll always try to have equal length anyway. But we've done it this way because the way this manifold is, it creates a much more high-pitched noise. So we wanted to see what this engine would sound like with a manifold designed like this. And basically it's called a 180-degree crossover because it takes 2 cylinders from one side and 2 cylinders from the other and puts them into one collector. Whereas normally every V8 you see would have 4 cylinders into one collector and 4 cylinders, just 2 banks. But this crosses the banks. So you get away from the V8 burble then, because the burble is each bank. That's the noise you're hearing from a V8 burble. Whereas this, you hear every fire. So it's just like a straight 6 or whatever. You hear every fire, it sounds much smoother. And the burble goes away.
So is this mostly down to sound, why you've done this?
Yeah,
Is there any power or torque?
It's actually sapping power.
See, it takes away power.
Yeah. I want to see what it sounded like. It should create good mid-range torque. but it will hurt peak horsepower.
I think this is kind of like the whole premise of the car then, because it's had a few generations, this car. So the previous generation, you went to town on the making it lightweight and everything in a specific place, whereas this generation of the car, you've kind of lost that a bit, and you've kind of gone a bit bonkers, and you've put about 70 million screws and rivets and aero bolts and everything on it.
The car actually works better a little heavier.
Oh, does it?
So we find when we go too light with them, they actually are worse. So there seems to be a sweet spot for weight. We're probably a little bit lighter than most Silvias still.
How heavy or how light is it?
It's about 1120 at the moment.
1120?
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, my MX-5 is 1,200.
Yeah, that's heavy.
And that doesn't have a roof.
This is quite a compact engine. It's way more compact than an LS, which you'll see in another car. The LS is a much wider angle V, so the heads come much further out. This is much narrower angle, much more compact, even though it's almost 7 litres. It fits in there so sweetly. It's just an amazing engine. I mean, it is incredible. If you were an engine geek, if you see the internals on this thing, it's amazing.
Before anybody gets excited saying this looks like the perfect engine and sounds incredible, give a rough estimate of a price of how much this engine is.
It's about 40 to 50,000 euro.
It's probably turned a lot of people off it just then.
In the day.
If we move around to the back, you kind of understand why it's such a light car. Oh, should we go to the middle first?
Yeah, left-hand drive, which
Okay.
is weird. You've probably seen a little bit of this before. The seat looks like crap though, but it's actually pretty cool. It's got we poured an insert the shape of me.
Yeah.
This one.
Your physique.
Yeah. So it's after all coming apart now because we've been beating on the car all year. But
Yeah, so this is the same seat as what we have.
yeah, you got the same one. Yeah.
And you can kind of see, so it's kind of, that's the same same idea as F1 seats and go-kart
Formula
seats and
seat,
stuff like that.
Yeah, formula seat, yeah. So it's a kit for doing a formula car.
Yeah.
So you'd be fitted to the car.
Another cool thing about this car is, what was the rule that you built this on about weight-wise and?
Yeah, it was built around centre of gravity original when it had the 2J in it, we'll say. So yeah, everything was mounted as low as
Was it
possible.
40 inches?
It's about 18 inches is the rule-ish, the builder's rule. So 18 inches off the floor pan raises the CG.
Yeah.
So you try to keep everything below it.
So that's why you can see all the, even as far as it goes, like all the little switch panels and stuff like that. And there's nothing really on the dash bar of the screen, which is essential, obviously. One more thing before we move away from this. So your clutch pedal,
Yeah.
you've
You've
probably over-engineered pretty much everything on this car, and you didn't stop at the clutch pedal. So what is the theory behind this?
Like, I've a bad habit from when you move from right-hand drive to left. I seem to have a habit of just taking my left foot off the brake, slamming the tunnel with my foot and pressing the clutch, you know, and you never kind of come off the clutch pedal. And then when I moved to the left-hand drive, I found my foot just automatically going over and looking to stop against the tunnel, and there was no tunnel there, so I just created a stopper for my foot.
So that's essentially just a stopper.
My foot slipped off once and I was like, oh.
Your foot slipped off once. You know what? I forgot to grab the handbrake once, so I didn't go to that extent.
Not a good sign.
Right, so moving on from the inside to the rear, which, like, there's literally nothing left of the rear of this car. It's just kind of ridiculous. Everything cut out, everything's kind of looks like it's been placed there for a reason, for weight distribution.
And everything pocketed, dimples for strength. Then, like, we even went and we removed the inside skins of the pillars and the roof, and then we dimpled. That's just the outside skin, and we. And
it's tough. That's just one skin.
Yeah, and it was all over the place. You could shake the whole car left and right before we dimpled it, but once you introduce the dimple, it stiffens the whole thing up.
I find it funny. It's almost like you got a dimple dye for Christmas, and you just absolutely went to town on it.
How did you guys say that before?
Right, we have to move on.
If you're in Ireland and in the market for a used car, we recommend coming here to moorfieldmotors.ie. They've got an amazing showroom, everything from SUVs to performance cars to practical cars to first-time buyers. They even have Mark II Escort rally car. Although, to be fair, this isn't for sale. But it does show that they're into motorsport and they're into their cars, which means they can pass that knowledge on to you. They also do full finance deals and can source it if they don't have it. Get on to morefieldmotors.ie. They have new cars every day. Tell them we sent you.
This car has been in the making for how long? Or have you forgot?
7, 8 years. Yeah.
So
It was
this car was at Autosport, was it 5 years ago?
2016.
2016, and all the outside was done, kind of the steering-ish was kind of done, but it was
It
kind
would roll up in the trail.
yeah, it could roll, but it's a long way from there now. It's a fully functioning
Yeah, it
car
drives.
now.
It drives. I drove it today for the first time. It was scary, really scary.
The whole of Ireland has been waiting for that.
We will do that. That is the plan. But it's a bit scary right now.
Right, where do we start here? The front, the engine.
We start in here.
We'll start at the
This is where
engine.
magic happens.
That was like the cribs moment where you show the bedroom.
Get out in this one now. You're just gonna have to put up with it. I'll speak quickly.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let him go with this, and you understand what you understand.
So it is a 2.7 5-cylinder. It's a TDI block from an old A6. Custom crank, custom rods, custom pistons. It's got a Group B rally car head on it then, pretty much. Custom everything else. So it's 2.7 litres, 5 cylinders, got a 100mm stroke. I think like an 82.5 piston in it. So it achieves its CCs with a lot of stroke. So it's a very interesting engine. You won't see many of these. But it had to have it for the noise, it just had to have it. 3582 Garrett on the front of it. Crossways, again, totally mad, haven't seen it before. Comes straight out into the intercooler, straight into the throttle body. It's just different, it's mental. We couldn't really, because we moved the engine so far back, we couldn't really get an exhaust system down the back. So we came up with this, exit out the front, which kind of became a theme a little bit. And dry sumped, it's got all the bells and whistles, it's mental.
Okay, a few things that I heard there that I want to pick up on. A TDI block.
Yeah, so like a diesel block. It's a diesel block from a 2.5 TDI Audi A6. So,
How does that work from obviously a diesel block from going into petrol?
the block is just a block. An engine block is the same thing. It's
Is
just
that like a tested thing for these engines?
yeah, it's been done quite a lot. It's popular in Scandinavia and stuff. Just to get the CC. So these diesel blocks were 2.5 TDI 5-cylinder, and you can modify the block slightly to get the petrol head on top of it. So that's what we did to get the CCs. Otherwise, they are 2.2, which is quite small. You know, you're never really going to make what you really want to make with 2 litres. You know,
But the thing is, 2.5 it is now.
it's 2.7.
2.7, so
stroke?
700 horsepower is still fairly extreme for a
Oh, it's a lot.
2.7.
Yeah, it's a lot. And the dyno we use as well is really low reading. So it beat this thing in horsepower, like.
You beat this?
Yeah, it's got more power than that. So it's mental. But unfortunately, right now, it's extremely peaky. It's got a very narrow power band, and it's just like nothing. Then absolutely everything happens. So
Teething issues.
yeah, it just whatever. Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to go down turbo size and things like that. And whether we have, I mean, look, there's big long runners on it and things like that. If it's inefficient and whatever, we've a couple of things we need to work on to try and get a bit of that back. The likes of anti-lag or anything isn't going to give you that back. It's not without glowing everything red hot. So yeah, we're going to come up with a few things, and over the winter we'll be fiddling away with it.
Okay, one more thing. So the intercooler, I've never seen an intercooler kind of, well, almost that small for that size of an engine and turbo.
Yeah.
And also the pipes. You've located the intercooler obviously to have the smallest pipes, it seems.
Not really. I mean, the engine is back, as we said, because the engine in these cars was actually out here.
Yeah.
So we moved it back as far as we could. The intercooler has to go here. Unlike one thing that's really different in this compared to what we were used to is it only takes in air here.
Yeah.
So there's nothing with the under aero. So you've no choice but to put a cooler here. So that's a Garrett 3-inch cooler, which I was worried would be too small, but the intake air temps are actually really low. That again probably points towards very little manifold back pressure and turbo back pressure and stuff. I'm going way over your head now. The bigger the turbo, the less back pressure you'll have. The smaller the turbo, the more back pressure you'll have. You find a happy medium between lagged in and no lag and blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, it came together. I mean, I don't like this, that the air comes out and does a sharp 90 straight away. I'd like way more progressive stuff going on and all that. But look, it came together, it works, it makes noise, it makes a lot of horsepower, and drives under its own steam, 6-speed sequential, the whole lot. It's been very good. It went straight onto the dyno, made massive power, no issues whatsoever, and we brought it here. So, totally happy with that, you know, no problems. But just needs to be rethought out, packaging wise or size wise of some components and things like that. It's just a little peaky, so
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Right, the steering, because
It's right-hand drive.
it's right-hand drive, but the steering isn't conventional.
No.
Well, sorry, conventional Audi. It's very conventional in what steering it is, though.
Well, it's a Sylvia rack at the moment. That's what went in it years ago, and that's fine. They work great, but it comes out where the drive shafts of the Quattro came out. There's a little dip. Well, there's a raise in the chassis and there's a dip in the crossmember, and it comes out there where the drive shaft came out, which is weird. It leads to a lot of modifying of the hub. It's actually a Sylvia knuckle hub and a Sylvia shock absorber on an Audi control arm and an Audi crossmember. It's just a sort of thing, really.
And obviously, everything completely modified because nobody's, how would you say it, stupid enough to turn one of these into a drift car.
I appreciate that. That was the right words for that. Yeah, so we kept a lot of things simple though, as in, you know, we shared it. Well, this is a different rack than a Sylvia rack now, but it used to have a Sylvia rack. So we tried to share components, so we end up with one spares package instead of a load of bespoke parts and you're carrying loads of crap around.
That's quite a common thing for people to convert, like say with Corollas and stuff like that.
This has an S14 subframe in it as well, so it's even more Sylvia. So yeah, okay.
And am I right in saying, I remember you say, it was a long time ago when you probably said this, where the start of the build, you measured where the seat is in comparison to the wheelbase,
Yeah.
so it felt like you were in an S
should
body.
feel like it. Yeah, so from the centre of the front wheel to my ass is exactly the same as in the Sylvia. So the pivot point around the front of the car should be the same.
Which is a mad detail to kind of go into that I would never have
It's
thought
just an
of.
experience you might see when you drive the Corvette, you know, when you're sitting up on the back wheel. Like I had it in car.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, sitting very far back,
Yeah.
your pivot point's massive.
Massive.
So
And
you
think
you feel like you're on an angle, like I am
Yeah,
killing it
massive
right
angle,
now.
and you're not.
And then Dave gets onto the radio saying, "Will you try drifting the corner next time?"
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't want that. This is a very front-wheel drive car, so you should actually be sitting like up here. And
Yeah,
like,
which is
planted in
bonkers.
the dash.
You're sitting behind the pillar there.
yeah,
You're almost on the back seat.
yeah. But in respect to the wheelbase, it's exactly the same wheelbase as an S14,
Yes.
just by sheer look. So
What?
in
This is
respect
the
to that-
same wheelbase.
Yeah. So it's a little bit longer than the 13, but same as 14. But in respect to the wheelbase, it's in the same place as the 14.
So the dry sump is in the passenger,
Footwell.
guessing for weight distribution, I
Yeah,
guess.
correct. And it just keeps the plumbing very, very nice and simple. Just the other side of the firewall, obviously, is the engine, rather than mounting it in the back and having massive lengths of hosing going through.
What are those? Are they water lines?
Yeah, they're the radiant lines.
What are they from?
They're from a boat, I think.
A boat?
They're from boats, I think.
Because we saw somebody in America, and they had big refrigerator lines or
yeah.
something like that, and they were using it because
I did the
from
240.
doing the builds, I realised that the braided stuff is pretty pricey.
Exactly. I did the 240 originally, fully braided with all sorts of bulkhead fittings and everything, and by the time you made out how much it was like, nope.
I remember seeing one of the fittings, just the fittings at the end, and it was like 70 quid, and I was like, this is going to cost a lot.
It gets out of hand, especially when you're trying to, like,
Change the world.
yeah, between this car, that car, Sultan's Corolla, everything, the truck, the awning, the spares, the flags, the t-shirts, the hoodies, you know what I mean? You got to spread it out somehow. So I could have ran AN lines, but you got to draw the line somewhere. Fuck.
Right, let's move on to the mad body of this car. So obviously, this was almost as important to have this body kit as it was to have the engine.
It had to be this one. So this is the S1 E2, which is Evolution 2. Where they went mad with the aero, basically because they weren't competitive enough. They had to come up with something. So they just went mental. But it actually has the Pikes Peak wing on it, which was from going up Pikes Peak.
Yeah, you custom made this though. This was a COVID wing, so this was many hours in the garage, bored, insane.
3 other wings.
3 other wings?
Yeah. So we had to sacrifice 3 wings to make 1 wing.
This is just the most, whichever angle you look at this from, it is just the most bonkers wing. The side plates, it's half the size of the car.
They're the correct size. I got a genuine Pikes Peak side plate from Germany, and it cost me a stupid amount of money. But for me, it just couldn't. We couldn't do it off a picture. It wouldn't be the right size. It wouldn't be the right measurements. So I found one. I bought it. I got it sent to me, and from there we made these aluminium replicas. But they're. You made me spill my beer. You made me hide the beer and put it on the ground, and now I. Look at us.
It was my fault.
Yeah, so they're absolutely perfect. And from there, then we could make the aerofoils for the middle.
Like, was it that important? Could you not roughly do it?
No, it just wouldn't be right.
But like, nobody would ever know.
Yeah, but if you say you made that off of pictures, and then they'd be like, oh, you definitely got that out of proportion because it's too big.
Is it that important to have it exactly the right size? Is that,
It's like the body kit is very important to have it period correct.
And you said that it wasn't simple getting this kit. You had to. You didn't just order it from one place, did you?
Well, no. The back half came from Germany, and the front half came from Bulgaria. That's pretty much the bottom line.
And pretty cheap, I imagine.
The front wasn't too bad. I think labour was quite cheap in Bulgaria, by the looks of it. Germany, total other situation. That made up for it completely. I mean, yeah, they held me to ransom for 2 quarters. But again, they had to be the S1 E2 quarters. I've obviously, this is my dream car. So I've looked at every picture of every replica. And if you try to make them off a picture, you end up with a slab-sided block of cheese. It just doesn't look right. So it had to be a genuine replica. That's what we got, and then we cut it after paying all that for it. And we extended it.
You extended it?
Yeah, because they only made these for the short car, you know, so there should be 11 inches taken out of the window here. So when they made this car for rallying, they shortened the whole wheelbase to get it more nimble. But we didn't because it makes it way too short. So then we had to cut this and put 11 inches in there and smooth it out and make it look right without having it make it look like it was giant.
Was there any bit of this car that was actually easy to do that came together? Or did it all just fight you along the way?
The stickers were quite simple.
It's pretty cool how different these cars are, but they still have the same theme with the big wings and the aero and the stickers. They somehow blend as one.
And even the Corolla, the Corolla looks amazing.
Right, have we finished on this one? Should we move on to the Corolla, which I will have released at the start of this video, but you have honestly built the maddest looking Corolla I think I have ever seen.
Agreed.
Like, this was Dave's old car, which was a very standard looking Corolla, had an SR20 in. Sultan happened, who a lot of you guys may know from the Middle East. And did he kind of just give you the go-ahead to make the ultimate Corolla?
It kind of got out of hand. Like, he messaged us from the Autosport show, which you might know is in January every year, like 2nd week of January. And he was like, oh, I want to do BDC this year. This was pre-COVID. And I was like, okay. And he said he wants to do it in the Corolla because he drove the Corolla the year before and loved it. It was just that was just a friendly driver's car. Everyone that drove it loved it. And we said, right, let's do something. He wanted an LS in it, blah, blah, blah. So we got into it, and then COVID happened 2 months later.
There's Sultan there trying to run us over. Mondello are gonna love you for the noise tomorrow. The crowd will love you, and Mondello will not love you.
Anyway, then COVID happened, so the whole thing got just put totally on the back burner. No one knew who was going to travel where, or if we were, or whatever. So it was time to resurrect it then, and the plans changed. It was to be a tribute car to the Need for Speed car. So that's why it was painted. It's white under there. It was white, and it was to do the white and black like the Need for Speed car, and be just a tribute car to that, because that was such a cool looking car. And then I was like, look, Sultan, I mean, everything is black now. And, you know, okay, the Need for Speed car is cool, but like, let's make them all kind of the same, and we'll have them all the same. So eventually he agreed to that. And I said, look, my cars are pretty mental, so I'm going to have to do a few things here to spice this one up. And he said, okay, and off I went, doing some drawings and stuff. And that's what I came up with.
So you actually draw down your designs first?
Yeah, kind of. You see I drew out the 240. This one I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I kind of, I don't know, I was going to name the cars, and this one was kind of the TIE Fighter, because I wanted the wing like Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, do you know what I mean?
See, the mad thing is, and this was the thing that I was going to mention, like, it's fairly easy if you get like a big spoiler to put a big spoiler on a car and imagine how it looks. I've never seen a spoiler like this. So you've obviously thought this up in your head, and you haven't, not that I know of, there's any cars that actually replicates like this.
No. Same with the 240 with the double wing and the shark fin. I want to do a shark fin for years, and obviously if you do a shark fin, you've got to pull it off with a fairly mega car. It can't be just a whatever.
Well, that's the thing, is I just like, it's a one step more actually designing something from absolute scratch, and it's even more of a credit to you to actually do that, because it's easy to copy someone else's idea, but then to come up with your own and for it to actually work as good as it does. And again, like completely custom side plates, you got like a little fin on a big spoiler.
Kept the shark fin integrated into the scoop for the rear radiator. You know, sometimes we mock things up and you're like, okay, Darren, calm down. It looks a bit mad, you know, but we can pull it off. When you build something like this, I think it looks good. I think it came out well. I introduced a fin on the front as well. Swords, we call them. So they're called a sword in the Quattro. These pieces that go up, these aero pieces. So I was like, okay, that'll be one way of covering the front wheel. And then we ended up with a really shitty positive offset front wheel because of how wide the front track is. We've got a cool worker grip on the back, but the front was just crap, and like it's not a worker grip under there. And it would be a waste to put like a 8.5 plus 40 worker grip in there. Just like, I mean, what's the point in having a work if it's that kind of offset, you know? So I was like, what the hell am I going to do here? So I came up with some like period correct kind of turbo fans.
Which I will say, you laser cut this and made it yourself. You didn't. This wasn't a turbo fan that you just buy off the shelf. You just genuinely cut it all out. All this is custom, stuck in. That's been obviously made up, etched in with Group D. Like, what do you like have the process where in your head you're kind of thinking, this is going to be a lot of grief, and then there's the easy option because you got a wheel that works, that does absolutely nothing to the car. And how many hours did that take?
A lot. Too much, like, but
but I admit, like, it finishes off the car. Like,
you got to keep it kind of standard to it, you know what I mean? As I said, you couldn't put a wheel on there that wasn't going to take advantage of the rest of the car.
But it looks incredible. Like, it does add to the car. It actually finishes the car. Like, it really, of something like a front wheel that doesn't really add too much. Like, it really does.
Like, I like being creative with them. Like, you know, the engine for us is easy. You know, this is what we do every day. We're good at this stuff. The engine is easy, the gearbox is easy, the rear is easy. It's quick change and like 1,000 horsepower shafts and all the geometry and the suspension. I mean, Sultan talented today in first run. He came in, he's like, this thing just handles sweet, just perfect steering. Everything just works nicely. And then I'm like, all right, we need to challenge yourself with creating something unique. It's not a unique engine, it's not a unique gearbox, it's not a unique drivetrain. You know, we've used S14 steering rack, S14 rear end, you know, kind of boring that way when they all kind of keep the same recipe and we keep the same spares package. It's like, how can I make this thing unique compared to another Corolla that has a 14 sub from, obviously, you know, that's kind of popular in this.
No, I think it's really tough when you definitely go for a Corolla and there's thousands of them out there. And again, they kind of go down two separate routes, which is either like bien kitted or kind of standardy looking. But like to take something, especially the same with the year 240, it's hard once you go for a conventional car to make it stand out. And again, you've kind of done it. And especially you say the arches like these, this is like almost like a new, what is it, like time attack size, the Liberty Walk silhouette kit. That's got a lot of like sharp angles and stuff like that.
It's kind of 80s brutal aero. So that's just like the Quattro.
Yeah, like the 80s style is coming back in, and like this fully replicates it.
It's almost period correct. If they went up Pikes Peak in a Corolla, it might look something like this. So
and that is how an LS fits in a Corolla, which seems absolutely bonkers it to say you're going to put an LS in a Corolla.
Yeah.
And it looks almost
fine
at home there.
Yeah, mounted it with a motor plate off the chassis, solid mounted. So
it's all solid mounted all here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So motor plate into the chassis, the motor plate mounts the alternator, motor plate deletes the water pump and takes it all AN through.
And is that a custom made part by you?
That was custom made in the States for us.
Wow.
So just a two-piece. Normally the motor plates are one piece both across the engine, but that's two separate sides. So we got one for the 240 and we got one for this. And it makes the exhaust manifold so much easier. You should see the exhaust manifold going around the steering column in this car. It's like the biggest nightmare of a job.
You've even got nice little touches like the air fans obviously located to hot spots in the car.
Yeah, we blow cold air on the plug leads because in the LSs it tries to melt them with the exhaust going around the plug leads. The V8s are always a bastard for that. So we just keep, instead of some dead air heating, we just keep the air from getting stagnant by neck of ducts and pointing.
It's quite funny. I always see like vents and bonnets and everything, and to be fair, I put vents in my bonnet to change the look of the bonnet. Yeah. But this is genuinely for a reason.
Yeah.
Of
we would have had a lot of trouble
down.
with that in the States, like with melting plug leads and stuff. So it's something that can be an issue with them. So anything we can do just to stop it being dead, we do it on most of the V8 stuff.
Yeah. So the steering on this is fairly standard because it's S13 at the front.
It is an S13 coilover. It's an S13 knuckle, an off-the-shelf one that you can buy in Australia. But it's got a totally custom lower control arm in, which is just a mock-up for now. It's not even pretty, and it's got a custom cross member with a Sylvia rack in it. But it's a lot different to a normal Corolla. It should be way better. I think drifting has left the Corolla behind. All the development has been in the Sylvias. And
all the Sylvias are going through the same kind of way now. Like all the Wisefab kits say they're doing the relocation kit on the rack, so it's the same kind of premise on this then, I'm guessing. They're all kind of going that way to make it more centered.
Update this to be competitive with them. So unfortunately in a Corolla, naturally the steering rack is mounted much further towards the rear wheels than it is in a Sylvia, so you lose that kind of advantage straight away. So we've brought it 75 millimeters forward, so the rack is 3 inches further forward than it was in the Corolla, so it's a huge step. And of course that's extensive modifications to the column to reach and everything, but it works really good so far. It's really good, so it's nice and neat and clean for once and for a while anyway.
Again, lockdown has done this build wonders, I would say. And moving on to the inside, which again is just super clean. Like this is no expense spared. It's got a carbon dash, the paintwork is incredible. You've even gone to town on a helmet holder with pads in so it doesn't wreck his helmet. The door cards are carbon fibre indented, and the incredible thing I think is that this used to be right hand drive.
Correct.
And now it's left hand drive.
So it actually has everything to bolt everything back over this side. So you can
that's
see,
mad.
If you look underneath a little bit, the original column over is there.
Steering rack holder.
This plate here is used for the water lines from the rear radiator,
and that's where.
And then on the far side, the steering column is the same thing. So it has everything. It even has the bracket here to bolt the accelerator pedal on, if you can see it, the genuine one. It's very dusty after today, but rear mounted rad.
So this was brand new, and now few laps in. Dust. So rear mounted rad,
quick change, electric power steering pump, electric water pump, all AN lines and fitting, all kind of tubular and cell, fuel cell, the whole lot, FIA cell. Just a
Super clean and a tight space as well. Do you know what weight this is as well, or
No, didn't get a chance to do that, but it's not going to be much.
it'd be around 1,000 kilos
I would
ish?
say so, yeah. Yeah, about 1,000, yeah.
Which 1,000 kilos, and what's 500 almost horsepower
466 it made. That's on the dyno we use.
on 15s with running semi-slicks 195s,
205s.
205 semi-slicks on 15s with 500 horsepower.
Should be beautiful to drive. I mean, it should be child's play to drive, but...
Sounds like an absolute death wish, if I'm going to be honest.
You think so? No, I think it should be lovely and smooth, and the torque will just overpower the wheels, and it should be sweet. But whether it's going to be competitive is another thing.
Well, the competition since you started building this has gone up to a whole other level, I would say.
But like, I mean, the Sultan, he wanted it on 15s looking like a Corolla. I think we can all agree when they go on 17s and 18s, they don't no longer look like a Corolla. They don't
Well, if you
look
compare it to, say, Phil Morrison's, he's gone on to 18s, and again, he's done it very well.
Yes.
But it isn't as... It takes away from the small nature of the car, like...
Yeah, it doesn't look...
His wheels go up to his windows almost, whereas it still very much looks... You can say it looks like a Corolla, it looks like a mini Batmobile or something. It looks like Batman's kid's car.
But like, I mean, this car will work better on like 17s or something. It will eventually end up there. It'll steer a little bit better on them, and it'll certainly put the power down better.
Right, Darren, I think our tour has come to an end. I said to him, you have 15 minutes to speak, and I think 15 minutes was on the first car, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to cut down. But yes, thank you, Darren.
Thank you. See you again.
So thank you guys very much for watching this. Probably be our geekiest video that we've probably done, most in-depth video on these cars. And you've been watching the channel, they've been a long time coming. You've seen them in the background of other videos, you've seen them not working, different evolutions of the cars. So it's really cool to see these three cars, all Irish built, easily some of the best quality cars probably in the world. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you stuck with us till the end. And if you would, hit that subscribe button, because 60% of you aren't subscribers that watch the channel. It really helps with the algorithm. So it's not hard to do. So just take a second now, click. And thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one.